Welcome to chapter 4. In this chapter, we're going to go and manage the plugin via a backend system. So far we have created a React project which has a plugin in it and well, not a plugin in it, but it can show plugins via a plugin system. And here on, we're going to go and put this on an actual backend thing, which would manage the plugins, and then the front end will decide to show it or not. This is very exciting. The difference in this chapter is I'm gonna kind of do it as we go instead of like prepare the code from before. So I'm gonna use Fireback for this. It's a framework from me and been used for years, different places. And we are gonna go and take the Fireback microservice boilerplate for this purpose. So the Fireback microservice boilerplate is a ready project and we can just build it and continue on that. I'm gonna rename this to backend and copy this, take it into where? Take it into work folder, Torabian, and then I'm gonna go to the others, plugin workshop, and paste it here. You will have access to this content via my website, I believe, like torabian.github.io. You can go to the workshops, React and Go plugin system workshop. And when I'm done with this, you will have the download files available to you. So the host, what we've done is we have compiled it, and this is the dist folder. We're gonna need it in a moment, but now we have gone. Let me a bit clean up everything so we don't have to be like thinking here and there all the time. I'm gonna go to work. We are already here. Go back, and this is the new folder I have pulled called backend. I'm gonna make it first because Golang needs a kind of npm install, like td up stuff modules, and this make has some scripts in it which would do that for me. And I'm gonna open it in a separate VS Code tab so the functionality is fully working as expected. Now, when we make the project, this is not a monolith, but it's a microservices structure. So Fireback comes both in monolith and Fireback setup. So it has some functionality, but not much in terms of database. So we're gonna initiate an environment for it. Let's say test. And I'm gonna use SQLite for this. And we're gonna use silent, port 4000. We add the tables, yes. We see data, yes, but there isn't because it's a microservice, and then we don't want HTTPS. So now if I start the server, it goes to localhost 4500 as we configured it. It's perfectly fine. It says 404 because there's no route in the project at the moment. We're gonna add it in a moment. So one thing we're gonna do is we want to go to the main file. Let that load. I'm gonna save it to clean it up a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do is go and copy this Go thingy here and let's take it back a little bit, and then just two of them is enough. And what happens else is we need this one here as well to embed the content. Now it's throwing an error because the UI folder is not there. So Golang has the option that you can embed a folder into it and it becomes binary included. Now in the host folder, this is the dist. This is like the whole project in the front end. I'm gonna copy this, go to the back end, go to the CMD, go to this boilerplate server, and then I'm gonna paste it here. Yeah, I'm gonna rename this into UI, and that should be like getting us fixed kind of a thing. Now it's all perfect. So we have the folder now here into this, and that's what we all need. One thing before we go forward, because we want to store the plugins in the backend kind of a thing, and we don't want to hard code it somewhere so people can upload their own plugins, we need to go and create a plugin entity for that. Entities in Fireback are a mechanism to store content in the database. And this is not a course for Fireback itself. It's just I'm explaining what we want to do. So let's go and create a new module. And I'm going to call it plugin. And inside the plugin folder, now we have a YAML file, which we can modify a little bit. And I'm gonna go and call this entities name plugin description list of active plugins in the project. And then I'm gonna call this fields, and the name is name, and type of it is string. Description, the name of the plugin. Maybe we can add a title, but I don't want to go very like detailed into this. I would rather not do that at the moment. I'm just gonna call another field called enabled, and type is a boolean optional, like a nullable, and then default is false. And then another one is the plugin, or let's call it content, and the type of it is X file, and the content of the plugin. So X file is a representation of a file in Fireback which goes into the database. So it's like a blob column with some metadata, and you store the file inside the database. It is very good practice, though I don't see it often in like European market to do it. Back at home, we were doing this all the time. It just makes it much easier to like hold the files, like instead of putting on disk or uploading somewhere else, you have it all inside your database, one place. You just copy and back up the same file, and everything is intact. Files are being deleted, like with the records, and all those benefits in that. But again, that's not a topic for this video. For now, just imagine we're just putting every plugin we're creating into the database, and then we're gonna serve it from the database as is. So yeah, cool. So when we save this thing, what happens is it's gonna create this plugin entity for us, which has a lot of details here. And I need to go and edit the plugin entity bundle into the module, and that's it. Just one more thing to notice is that there is a bug in the Fireback itself, which makes it we have to add the nullable content a little bit manually here. Let me see, content, and yeah, here. So we want to have this one if we have a content, but also for enabled, called enabled Fireback new new bool auto null, and then from enabled. Like this field is for this kind of binary is missing in Fireback 124. It's a bug. Now we have this all done. We're gonna go to the main, and the plugin is added. That's perfect. I'm gonna go and make the project, and then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna apply the migrations, so the tables are being created in the database, and I'm gonna run this. Now you see there's a plugin thing here. Like if I call it plugin, then we have a plugin again inside of it. That's also one thing, because one is the module, the other is the entity. We can obviously reorganize it, but That's not the point. So I'm gonna go and create a plugin, and let's go and check the list of plugins. That for now, that's cool. We don't have any plugin. And I'm gonna go and copy the plugin, not into the source code or not copying it at all. Let me find where we have this in the host dist. Yeah, this is the host app. We already copied. That's perfect. Now we'll go to the plugin folder, dist, and plugin ifi. So this is the plugin which we will be loading later on. Therefore, I'm gonna go here, the backend. I'm just gonna put it here temporarily. It's not a part of the code. It just makes it easier for me to create like instance of it. Plugin, create, name is my plugin, as we discussed earlier, like we created the project, and then the content is plugin.fe. So now you see we have created this plugin and it has a content. The file size is like 150 kilobytes. Enabled is null because we didn't specify it. And then we can now enable or disable it. So I'm gonna go and set update UID is this one, the unique ID. And then I'm gonna set query enabled false. Query UID, yep, query the keyboard is jumping, that's interesting. Yeah, and I'm gonna go and set enabled to false, like provided. Oh, sorry. And you see the enabled now is equal to false, and then I could create, I could opt it in to enable true. Now we will do it in a bit. Okay, so far what we have done, if we start the project and then go to 4,500, still we have not found. I believe the issue is we haven't mentioned that this UI folder is becoming enabled. I'm gonna enable it. So you embed the folder into the binary, but then you have to address it that this folder is being served under this address. That's another feature of the Firebag. Now our front end is now visible. Like we can see it, and I already have commented the plugin. So we will work on it now in a second. In order to load the plugins, we are putting them into the database as we discussed. And this gives us a lot of opportunity because then our backend project doesn't know about the plugin and then the users are using, even we can extend this logic to say tenant one, like workspace one has this plugin, and then like the other workspace did not enable this plugin for themselves, so they don't have it. Of course, it goes both ways in the backend, but now we are focused more on the front end sections. One thing I want to do is I want to replace this inject plugins array with the enabled plugins from the database. So I'm going to copy this for now and then go and add two endpoints directly into the web server hook because they're not becoming a part of the documentation or code generation. Rather, they're like internal stuff. They're perfectly fine to be done via the gene itself. So we go and say e.get and slash as the homepage, a function, and instead of returning that, we're gonna go and read it through the UI. So we're gonna read file UI slash index.html, and we call it index and then error. And if there is error, then we're gonna do ctx abort with error, and then 500 and error. And that's it. And what else we want to do is we want to return the string and 200 the index content. So index content, we need to modify it. Therefore, we creating an index like thingy here. Let's call it this way, temporarily, and then we have this one. Sorry, we don't have to call it as byte. We need to call it as string. This is good. This is perfect, but we need another endpoint in a second. Let's go and finish this topic. First of all, I go to the index of my React project, which is the output, and I pick this value again out. I'm gonna come here and then keep it for now here as temporarily. What we want to do is we want to query the plugins we have, and then plugin actions, I believe, and then query. And in order to query them, we need to give them a context. I would say items per page 10, and that's it. So we call it plugins, skip this value, error 2. And again, I'm gonna copy this, call this error 2. And that's it. So we have the plugins now. In order to show the plugins as intended, we need to have a plugins list, plugins statement as a string. So we want to kind of generate, if you're not following along, this kind of statement per plugin. Therefore, it's going to be like in Golang, we're creating a JavaScript-ish content. We could do like a JSON stringify, but I'm rather not to do that at this moment. I would say for a plugin range plugins, which will iterate through the statements, basically, I'm gonna add a plugin statement, plugin statement, append plugin statement, which is, let's clean it a bit. It's very difficult to work in a window, but anyway, sprint f, then I'm gonna call the name equals to we, and then location also equals to we, and we put this one, and then the name of it is the plugin.name. We mentioned it in the YAML file, right? This field is name, and the location of it is, in fact, I would say plugin.unique ID. The reason we are doing this is the files we created now is inside the database, right? And we need to have a mechanism to take that file from the database, pick it, and then print it to the UI as it was like external file. Now you can add another layer on top of this to cache it. So one time you get it from the database, you're not reading database all the time for these static files. And if it doesn't exist, you just go and grab it from the database. Therefore, you have the integrity as well as let's say performance done. The result is never used. That's fine. We will take care of it. I'm going to say the location is plugin content, this one, .js. So we're going to create this URL in a second. And then all we're going to do is the index content strings replace all with the index content, the file, whatever it is here, and it is plugin statement that join and rn. So to make sure it also works on Windows, so we're putting them below each other, stacking. Now this is statement we need it exactly as is, because otherwise it would have an issue. And what we're gonna do is gonna make, and then I'm gonna go and check like if it's showing. So you see like my plugin the location is whatever it is, now it's showing up. We have replaced it with whatever is actually in the database. One thing we have missed though is to care about if it's enabled. So I'm going to use an internal query and say enabled is true. And this one would make it in a way that only those which are enabled to be show up. So let's go and see if that's really working. Now it's not showing up. And if I go and make it enabled, let's hope that it's showing up. And now it's showing up. This is perfect. This is what we wanted. Now we could extend this logic, like if it's enabled for this specific workspace, this specific condition. And you get the idea, like you can move on with this strategy. Now we have seen this file, which is a plugin content and a unique ID, like the plugin, and we are not having this plugin at the moment. So if I go and try to run this, it just basically throws an error because we don't have such plugin. It's a 404, and we're gonna go and create that route again real quick. So we need another get endpoint, which is a plugin like this. I'm gonna remove this, call it ID, and then function like this, and we're gonna return a header of content type application JavaScript, because it's a JavaScript file in the end. And then we're gonna put some string, and we say the JS, let's say 200 and JS file. The JS file itself will be from UI, not UI, but we need to pick that element. So let's go define the plugin error. And again, we have to write the plugin module, plugin actions, and then get one. And what happens is we want to say we want the unique ID of c.uid, let's call it this way, and then the UID itself is equal to c.ctx.param. That's all, and then ID. And one more thing we want to do is we want to delete that .js file, right? And I'm gonna delete this strings, replace all, this one .js with nothing. Therefore, this is my UID, and I'm gonna be a bit lazy and then take the error from here. If it's not found or anything, it would throw the error for me. And the errors here are usually error fireback errors, so they also have this HTTP code in them, so we can just pass it something like this, I believe. Just integer. Yep. And this is our plugin. So how to read our plugin is already has the, when you're getting it unique, already has the content, and then we want the blob as a string. So that's all there is to it. We're gonna go and rebuild the project and start it. Let's see. Now you see the plugin we have created has shown up. Now if I go and refresh the page, you see I'm having an issue here that it's not shown as HTML because we have modified the file, right? We have modified the file and we forgot to put the header as content type text HTML. And if I rebuild the project and then start it, you see the plugin has been shown up. So if I go and select blue, I go to home, 180, 89, this is all like this. Still, I believe we can't go up because of the hook when 2 chapters before we created. And then the fun part is if I go, let me just actually like run this into another tab, app start. So the web server is here and we have access to CLI here. I'm gonna make enabled false. Now this CLI, by the way, you can manage it from the HTTP, right? So if you connect to the HTTP and management part, this is fully an endpoint. There's an endpoint for it created. So plugins, so you can patch the plugin and modify it, and then you see here it's not enabled. Now if I go back again and set this to true, and the plugin now is enabled. And our app entirely doesn't know about the plugin. And this is the beauty of it, because now anybody else can write the plugin for us. And if we give them a dashboard that you can upload your plugin, enable it, and then the users will see that. I hope this much of a content was really useful to this point. As you see, like we avoided a lot of frameworks, a lot of packages. We used the Fireback, of course, but if you wanted to do this all by our hand, would take a lot of time. And actually, Fireback is very good production level uh, helper for us. And I think you get the idea totally to this moment. Now, I hope there will be another chapter to this. So when we are doing the WebAssembly plugin system, but I think that's the whole point of this workshop, and if we could explain it, how to write the plugin on the front end, how to serve it via a backend. Of course, you can do it in other ways. Maybe you don't want to put the React content into the Go server, and you want to host it differently on another place, and then you have to fetch this plugins. So I believe, I'm not sure if I have Postman here. Oh, cool, I have it. So I can maybe show a little bit this one. If it loads up to, like, if you wanted to get this information from the HTTP endpoint, you would go to like 4500 plugins, and I'm gonna go get method, and see, like, it shows you what plugins are already enabled, and then you could do it on your SPA instead of having that. And if I make this false, still is gonna show it, I believe. We need to have like a condition on that, so I'm not sure. Remember, if like enabled true, something like that. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a whole and not a lot different topic. We're not going to discuss it today. Thank you so much, and hope you are having a great time. Until next topic.